So this is Bob Walsh from the Connecticut Institute of Finance. I'm here today interviewing Joe Pinto from IMA. Joe is somebody I've known now for a couple of years, right? And he actually is an insurance guy. He does all the insurance for my company. What we're trying to do here is bring local business people to the community to introduce you to really what I'm going to be calling Ask the Experts. And we're doing these things so they can introduce themselves, what they do, how they do it, why they do it, and so you can get a feeling of who they are better than just going online and trying to figure out who you're going to use. And it comes with my own personal recommendation because we obviously use Joe and his firm. So Joe, if you wanted to introduce your firm, which is IMA, what do you guys actually do? I know it's in the insurance world, but how would you explain what you do and how you're different from other guys in the business in the Valley?
Sure, thanks Bob. IMA Financial is a company that's been around for over 50 years, based out of Denver, Colorado. We have an office in Wallingford, Connecticut. We have offices all over the country. We're a national broker, insurance, so business insurance and personal insurance, employee benefits, bonding, employee owned, which is very unique in the insurance brokerage world these days. Seems like everybody's getting scooped up by either a publicly traded or private equity backed company. So we are employee owned. Every employee is an owner of the company.
Okay.
What that does for us, every person that you call, from the receptionist up to the CEO of the company, is all laser focused on employee satisfaction, customer satisfaction. We're all rowing in the same direction, making sure that our customers are happy and we're keeping our customers when we get through the hard work of actually onboarding a new customer.
Sure. So obviously, in the world of insurance right now, it has been difficult for the last couple of years.
Yeah.
One of the complaints I get from a lot of my clients to deal with is like, my insurance rate just went up, personal, everything else. How are you guys, I mean, we live in a different world. I mean, between, floods and hurricanes and tornadoes and just the insurance world itself, insurance rates have been going up.
Yes.
And a little quicker than inflation, So how are you guys dealing with that? How are you guys working with that? How has that played into your business and what you've been doing?
Yeah, so we are in what's known as a hard market. It's softening in certain areas. So liability rates, we're seeing stabilization, but property rates, we're still seeing increases, not as much as we have been seeing over the last 2 years. Auto insurance, it seems like the carriers can't figure out how to price it. Every time they think they figured out how to price an auto insurance policy, our good friends in the legal market figure out a way to increase the settlements that they're getting. So it's a mess.
Right.
But the way that we work with our clients to help them, we're never going to reduce premiums. In some instances we can do that, but year over year, typically what we try to do is control the increase as much as possible. If we can come in with a flat renewal, that's a win for us. If we are able to, market them with another carrier, you'll find that carrier that's hungry for a particular industry, and they'll come in and throw a very competitive price on the premium.
Sure.
So that's how we're able to typically reduce premiums. But we work with our clients on a risk management basis. We're not insurance agents per se. Certainly that's the bulk of what we do. That's how we're compensated most of the time. But we work with our clients on the inner workings of their business. So, when we onboard a new client, we'll put them through a discovery process.
Right.
We want to work with their human resources team. We want to work with their risk management team if they have one. We want to work with the finance team. We want to get down to the operations folks, the facilities and maintenance folks, the people that are maintaining the vehicles, and you really get into the nitty-gritty of what makes them tick. Because a lot of times a business is running their operation in a method that works best for them, but sometimes the things that work best for a business don't necessarily give an insurance underwriter a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Sure.
So what we like to do is point out the things that they could maybe tweak within their business that'll make them a little bit more marketable to the insurance carriers. At the end of the day, that's going to help them reduce their claims. With a lower loss ratio, you're going to have better chance of reducing and controlling your premiums. So it's really what you do on a day-to-day basis that controls your insurance, not when you have that meeting with your agent 3 months before your renewal and talk about how the exposures have changed.
Right.
By that time, everything's happened
Right.
over the course of the last 9 months. It's too late to kind of put that cat back in the bag.
Now, you guys do also a lot of insurance in the Valley, you have a lot of manufacturing,
Mhm.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
Which is always a good thing. And then we have service industry. Very different service industry insurance
Mhm.
versus manufacturing insurance. How do you deal with the diversity of that with walking into all these different businesses, and obviously you can't be an expert in all of them, right?
True.
Walking in and you deal with somebody who is manufacturing windows, like right over here, or
Mhm.
plastics,
Yeah.
right down here by the river, and then you come into somebody like me who's like a financial guy, and I'm really concerned about identity theft and somebody breaking into my computer and the plastic guys are probably not really worrying about that so much, right?
Sure.
How do you deal with that type of diversity and become that renaissance person on all business that you really can do that deep dive and work with them?
Yeah, so there's no way that I can be an expert in every field. And I am considered in my industry a generalist. So there are industries that I know better than others. My primary focus is public entities, so towns, cities, boards of education.
Okay.
I know that business very well. I've really educated myself, and my life experience has lended towards that. But I write a considerable amount of manufacturers.
Okay.
So, I rely on the expertise that I built over my 15 years in the sales side of things, plus the 10 years that I spent at Travelers Insurance prior to that in the workers' comp arena,
Okay.
to service those clients. But we're going to come across issues if I'm with a manufacturer. I have, contractors that I work with. I have property developers that I
Right.
work with. I don't have to do it by myself. IMA is a large national company. We have experts all around the country in different realms. So if I'm working with a real estate developer, I'm going to reach out to the folks in our New York office.
Okay.
Because that's where 90% of their book is in,
Okay.
in property and real estate development. We have a construction team in Kansas City. I work with those guys on a daily basis with my construction clients. They are very in tune with what's going on in the construction industry, what's on the horizon as far as risk goes, what's affecting their insurance, what's going to have an effect on their premium next year and the year after.
Right.
And I'm able to bring that expertise to my clients through the team that I work with there.
Which is the benefit of being that larger
Absolutely.
insurance rather than dealing with obviously trying to do a good job too, but somebody who has a shingle over the local deli and they're kind of by themselves and they just farm out insurance to whoever happens to
Sure.
be out there.
Yeah, and we don't have to rely on so a lot of times a smaller agent, I've worked for a smaller agent early in my career, and those guys do a great job
Right.
with small business, but as you scale up the size of the businesses that you're working with, you really do need that expertise behind you. So that's why IMA is a great home for me. The size of the middle market companies that I'm working with, I couldn't do it when I was working for the guy in Middletown
Sure.
with the shingle over the deli.
So how much do you have to keep on top of stuff with like OSHA regulations for insurance and making sure all that, because that involves
Yeah.
what you're doing also?
Yep. So when it comes to OSHA regulations, IMA has a team of what they call risk control
Okay.
experts. We have a local risk control guy in our Wallingford office. His name is Larry Barone. Hey, Larry. Larry sits in the office next to me. Larry's got 30 years of experience in that area. So, Larry started off with the Air Force and safety,
Okay.
and then he moved over. He worked for a couple of different general contractors in the safety world, and then he spent, I believe, the last 8 or 10 years working for a carrier. So he knows not only what the inner workings of a company look like,
Sure.
but he also knows what the insurance carriers are working for.
So
when it's OSHA, I bring Larry in. He's the guy.
right. So a lot of us, as being a business owner myself, we tend to, which is probably not appropriate, look at insurance as just a cost, okay, and something we unfortunately need, and we usually want the least amount that we legally can get away with.
Yeah.
All right. But I found when I spoke with you, you were able to do kind of a deep dive on my company.
Yep.
All right, and look at stuff and bring out stuff that I wasn't even aware of that I would have exposure on, and where in some areas I was overcovered, in some areas I was undercovered, and actually come up with what I needed versus what I thought I wanted, because I am not an expert when it comes to this. I mean, talk about life insurance, yeah, I can work with that, you know what I mean? But my area, I'm licensed to do liability insurance, but the reason why I farm it out to guys like you is because I'm not an expert on it, you know what I mean? So it's what I do. So how do you know, when you do your deep dive like that, I personally found that was one of the most interesting things because I've dealt with insurance people my whole life, and I never really got that type of service. Somebody actually coming into my company and dissecting all the pieces, because you know we have 3 interrelated companies here. You know what I mean? And all of them do slightly different things.
Yes.
All service orientated, but you know different things.
Yeah.
Looking back on your career with IMA Financial, what is like one of the more interesting things that you're proud of a story, and you don't have to tell us who it is or anything,
Sure.
but working with a company that kind of highlights what you did and was kind of fun, and or you were really pleased with the results on?
Yeah, the first one that always comes to mind when people ask me that question is I work with a local municipality on their property and casualty program. And when we took over the program, 2017, 2018, they were spending $1.2 million or so a year in workers' compensation, self-insured.
Right.
So they were paying the first $175,000 of every claim that came in directly out of the budget. They
Sure.
had a line in the city's budget for workers' comp, and the money would go out the door. It was managed by a third-party administrator, but the spending seemed awfully high. With a client of that size, we'll do periodic claim reviews.
Sure.
So the carrier will come in and we'll sit down and we'll have their attorney there and we'll go through all of the open claims.
Right.
The first time we did a claim review with them took 4 hours. There were that many open claims between, the city, the cops, Public Works, the fire, the Board of Education. Being a teacher is a hazardous job these days. So,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, you're not just standing at the front of the class talking to your students anymore. There's things that go on within the school that lend teachers to get hurt now. So we brought in a couple of different resources. So we brought in our in-house claim team. We have folks that are licensed claim adjusters, have experience adjusting claims for carriers to look at the claims. We had them working with the claim adjuster at the TPA to try to get some claims closed. We brought in our safety experts, worked with the city on, first of all, did walkthroughs on the facilities and made sure that, if they needed to make some changes to, just guarding, machinery and whatnot, they did that.
Don't walk here.
Looked at the ergonomics of
Sure.
the people in the office. We looked at everything. It was a pretty extensive process. It took 3 or 4 years, but the file reviews now, they take an hour.
Okay.
And their spend is down to somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 a year for 1.2 million.
That's a dramatic savings.
That's a dramatic savings.
And also
for
good for the people who work there. They're not getting
100%.
hurt as much, obviously.
Absolutely. So
It's not like you're denying claims, it's just not as many claims.
There are far fewer claims, and when we do get a claim, most times now it's medical only. They're not, the people that are getting hurt are not getting hurt to the extent where they're losing time from work.
Okay.
But again, they're self-insured, so that's direct money in the budget that they can now reallocate to other areas.
And improve the schools or do
Right,
whatever you want to
exactly.
do. Yeah.
Buy a new fire truck, whatever you need to do.
It's interesting, working with the municipalities, municipality unions are still pretty strong,
Definitely.
right? Where we've seen in other areas, not as much.
Sure.
Right? Do you find the compensation on the private sector, as far as insurance, a little less as far as that, or because it's not, I grew up in a union household. My father was a union guy, Teamsters.
Yeah, mine too.
Okay, so, and I remember, if he got hurt, he was compensated, it was fine, and it worked out. And then, I have other family members now who do the same type of work, and it's not as much for them. Do you find that generally, or?
Yeah, so I do work with union and non-union, both on the private and public sector. I find that the unions are typically very reasonable to work with. They certainly are looking out for their members.
Right.
It lends towards a safer shop a lot of times. But when on the health insurance side of things, 'cause I also do health insurance.
Sure.
When you make change to health plans, unions kind of get a little cranky.
Right.
But again, reasonable. It's just conversations and working through things. But yeah, I mean, there are different challenges to working with union shops versus non-union shops. But I don't mind it either way, because again, my father was in United Auto Workers at AFCO in Stratford, so he was a UAW guy when I was growing up, and I certainly appreciate what the union did for my family.
Yeah, we live in, things are changing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, and dramatically and relatively quickly. As far as working with individuals, obviously, health claims, that type of stuff, but what other type of insurance you do? So you're doing car insurance, you're doing home insurance, right?
We do home and auto. I don't do that directly. I have a team of folks
Sure.
in my office that manage all of those. So typically friends, family, and clients come to me for their personal lines insurance.
Right.
And we have a great team. If you have an art collection, we'll ensure that. If you've got a boat, we can handle it.
Okay.
I met a guy last night at an event that finances airplanes.
Okay, that's different.
We can insure airplanes.
Yeah, which is nice.
I've never done it,
Right.
but I know that we have a unit down in
Do it
Dallas
that
that does
somebody
that.
has it and
Yeah.
they can work on it for you and give you how it actually
Exactly.
works. How much, as far as, do you guys personally take the insurance lines on, or do you lay off to other people? As far as reinsurance, I mean, you're using other insurance companies. Like when I come to you, you're
Yeah.
going to get me a policy with pick a company.
Yeah, so we're a broker. So
You're a broker.
everything that we do, we outsource to another carrier. So
Right.
we're managing it for the client. We're managing the marketing process, making sure that you're going to the right carrier, making sure that the coverages are correct, making sure that it's the best deal on premium.
Right.
We're going to beat those underwriters up the best that we can to make sure that they're being fair. But yeah, I mean, 100% of what we do goes to a carrier as a broker.
And obviously, as a broker, I mean, I've dealt with, again, other liability insurance people, and many times, especially smaller ones, have only 2 lines.
Yeah.
And sometimes only even 1.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And if you don't fit with that person, now we don't have choices, but you have obviously many, many lines.
Yeah, so if you threw a carrier at me, we work with that carrier.
Okay. Right.
There are probably a handful that we don't, but
Yeah, we're the same way on the life
Yeah.
insurance side. You know what I mean? Like when we run life insurance, we run it through, 180 to 200 companies to
Yeah.
find out the best premium that's out there. And
Right.
thank God now it's all automated. We're not doing it on the phone anymore, right? I just put in the numbers and see what comes out. Because a lot of insurance companies, I always explain to my clients, insurance companies are a bit like bookies,
Mhm.
okay, to a certain extent. If you go to a bookie or even a betting place and it's a Giant game, and the Giants are getting too much action, or whatever the spread is, well, they either change the spreads or they change the odds because they want to get more money on the jet side, right?
Yep.
But if you have an insurance company that has too many manufacturing companies in the valley, covering for flood or whatever it is, well, if they feel their exposure there is too much, they're going to raise their prices so they don't get as much. But then if some other company that doesn't have enough is going to lower prices. It's kind of like dating. You got to find somebody who likes you.
and it happens more than you would think. I have a client who's a mechanical contractor. He does HVAC for commercial buildings. They run a great shop. They barely ever have a claim. They're the type of risk that any insurance carrier would be fighting to get, because the insurance company is going to make money on that account.
Right.
We had to move them a couple years ago because the carrier they were with increased their rates in that market.
Sure.
So we looked around and we put them with another carrier. A year later, so we had them with that carrier for 1 year. A year later, that carrier came back and said, "We're not writing HVAC contractors anymore." So even though this obviously was a great account for them,
Right.
and they definitely made money on the account,
Sure.
they were losing money in that sector, so they decided that they were going to divest all their HVAC contractors. And
Gotta find somebody else.
Now we're back
Again,
on the road
it's
with
a
somebody
little bit
else.
like dating, not marrying people.
And luckily, that class of business is easy to insure.
Sure.
But I mean, I have lost clients because they were in a difficult class of business to insure, and the carrier we had them with said, "All right, we're not writing that class of business anymore. You're gonna have to, we're not renewing them at the end of the year, and you can't find another home for them." So they end up in a third-party marketer.
At least in Connecticut, as far as insuring, is what I'm more concerned, because I have a lot of real estate, right? Real estate seems to be obviously a better market than Florida.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Taking the two extremes.
Absolutely.
One of the nice things about New England is, except for some very, very rare happenstances that have happened in the past, nobody usually dies from the weather. You know what I mean? We get an occasional hurricane that's sandy and stuff, but it's reasonable versus we're not in Tornado Alley, we're not in California, which I love California.
Right. No wildfires.
But there's no wildfires,
mudslides.
mudslides, earthquakes. I mean, how many movies have been made of it? So it's nice being in this New England area. But if you had a business that was looking at the insurance and wanted to get it to be evaluated to see if they're covered correctly,
Mhm.
all right? To see if they're paying too much,
Mhm.
to see if they are, all their exposures that maybe even some they're not aware of, right? I mean, it's never the stuff that's going to bite you in the behind is the stuff that you know about. It's always the stuff that you think you know about that you don't know about, right? You know, that I didn't know I was exposed on that, right? And how that actually, how can they contact you? How could they work with you? Or what would be the best way for them to approach you so you could just review what they have to see if maybe you could help?
So I always like to start with a conversation, regardless, because I need to see if we're a good fit. You know, I need to find out what your goals are in your business and see if there's a way that I can help you support those goals. If we can't get past that, then me reviewing your coverages,
Sure.
it's not going to be a fruitful relationship because, you know, again, insurance is how we get paid. It's not really what we do.
Right.
Everything we do is geared towards improving your business, and then the benefit of that is we
Is
can help you
okay.
control your insurance.
Same thing when I tell people, you know, as a financial planner, I will sit with clients, and one of the aspects is insurance, and
Yes.
one of those aspects is life insurance, is a long-term health insurance. I always tell the clients, is you're doing this with me because A, you need it,
Yep.
but you're only doing this with me because I do all these other things for you, right? Because I can't even compete on this, right? Anybody can get the same price that I'm getting, right? Because that's what insurance is. This is not something that I can give you a better deal, right?
Yes.
We're not allowed to negotiate on that. It's whatever it is.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, we can find an insurance company that might be less, but we can't discount anything personally. We're not even allowed to do that, right?
Absolutely.
So it's one of those service type businesses of being there for your client and actually helping them improve your business.
Yeah, and I mean the process that we go through with a new client is, you know, the initial conversation just to get to know each other and see if you know there's going to be some synergy there, and then if we decide to move on from that, you know, the next step is for me to get all your information.
Sure.
We're going to do the deep dive on the coverages, make sure that you've got everything that you need coverage wise. We're going to look at your claims. We're going to see if we can find any trends in the claim data that might indicate where you maybe have some issues in the operation. After we go through that process internally, we'll do the discovery meeting with the client. It could just be me, it could be several members of my team, depending on the prospective client. We'll come in and we'll spend typically 90 minutes with, again, the CFO, the CEO, the HR director, if they have a safety director, fleet director, whoever we need to talk to in that particular business. And we're just going to have a conversation with them, and it's going to really let us get under the hood and determine what they're doing from a safety perspective,
Sure.
how they're managing their fleet, how they're managing their people, how they're, you know, how they're keeping up with compliance issues on the HR side, how they're maintaining their facilities. There's 10 points that we go through.
Which not only saves them on the insurance side, but also, you know, there's two problems when somebody gets hurt on a job,
Yeah.
right? Well, three. Person got hurt, that's bad. Okay. Secondly, the person is going to be missing work, and you're going to have to pay medical or whatever happens to be, you know. And also, if you were negligent,
Yes.
okay, now it can be real money. You know what I mean? And that's a real problem. And
Yeah.
you coming in and saying, hey, this is what you need to do, shows that something can happen, obviously
Yeah.
bad, but now I'm not negligent, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, you know, I've been doing this and I've been in workers' comp since 2000. So I've never seen an employer's liability claim, which is negligence, fortunately. In most states, you can either take workers' comp benefits or you can sue your employer under the employer's liability
Right.
statutes. Most employees opt for the workers' comp benefits.
Right.
Unless there's a case of true negligence.
Right.
In which case, you should get an attorney.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so, you know, we go through the discovery process, and then we'll come back with a plan that's going to outline all of the areas of opportunity, all the things that you're doing really, really well, and then our plan for how we're going to help you move forward over the next 3 years. We always do a 3-year plan.
That's very
Because,
cool.
you know, there's certain things that are more urgent than others. You want to tackle those now. And then there's some things that you can put off, because obviously when you're making improvements within your business, sometimes there's expenses involved with that.
Right.
So there's an investment for a business owner. We understand that you might not have that in your budget this year. So we'll work with them and make sure that the priorities are in alignment with what
Right.
their priorities are. And then we ask them to basically fire their current broker and make us their broker. Because when it comes to going to the insurance marketplace now and representing this employer,
Mhm.
this business, if I am going to market for them, and then they've got, you know, their current agent also going to market for them, we're going to bump into each other.
Right.
Because each insurance carrier will only give a proposal to one broker.
Right, okay.
So, if I'm in the mix and then my competitor's in the
And
mix.
the guy you want
Right.
to go with, he went to, and now we're,
So,
yeah,
they may have determined, hey, Joe is the best broker option for me.
right,
But my old broker also went to market, and he came back and he's got a quote that's $30,000 less than Joe's quote.
right,
So now, they're forced to make a decision, do I want a better broker, or do I want a cheaper price?
Right.
Whereas if you have one broker going to market for you, then we've all got the same carriers.
right. That's what I'm saying. You can't compete on
Right.
it, right,
The pricing is gonna be the pricing.
right,
Now you're gonna be in a situation where you can have the best broker that you've already determined you wanna work with, and also, you're gonna get the best possible pricing and coverages for your.
yeah. And it just makes sense.
It does.
Too many chefs in the kitchen. You know,
Absolutely.
it's not a really good idea.
So when I walk into a prospective client, if they're not willing to make a decision on a broker up front
Right.
and hire me, or not hire me,
Right.
that's obviously up to them. But if they decide that they're gonna hire me, they truly do need to fire their other broker.
Right.
I'm not gonna work with a prospective client that's gonna put me in a situation where I'm competing for markets.
Right.
It's just
It's
not how I work.
Right, yeah, and that makes a lot of sense, actually. It's actually, I would even say more ethical, you know what I mean, and working in that way, in that capacity.
Yeah.
Because you're working the best interest for the client,
Mhm.
and it works out better that way.
Yep.
So if somebody wanted to reach out to you, how would they reach out to you? What would be the best way? Just phone call?
Yeah, phone calls,
So your number would be,
203-623-1105, it's my cell.
okay, and if they wanted to shoot you an email?
joe.pinto@imacorp.com.
Okay, and you guys have a website too, right?
imacorp.com.
IMA.com.
And I'm on
Pretty
LinkedIn,
easy.
you can look me up.
And again, for everybody out there, these are the people I use. You know what I mean? I originally started with you on the corporate side
Mhm.
because when we bought this place, we needed some help.
Yep.
It was kind of fun, especially with the carriage house out there outside.
It's a great building.
Yeah, well, we're starting tomorrow. We're getting plans for the carriage house to change it into 3 apartments, or 2 or 3 apartments. We have to decide what we do.
Excellent.
So it'll be easier to use, but then we're gonna have to go back to you, right? Because now it's
We'll
gonna
have
be
to change the
rental.
insurance.
We'll have to change the insurance, right? And also because other buildings will only think we need a different type of insurance for that
Mhm.
going through, because there'll be people working on the property. But
Yes.
we'll solve.
Yep.
Right now, we're just in the planning stage, you're getting permits, so that's gonna take a little
It's
while.
exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. I've been wanting to do it forever. Put it off a little bit because on a personal note, I probably have 2 weddings next year, so we got to plan stuff and make sure money's there. But yeah, it should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to doing it. But I will be looking forward to helping you. I do recommend Joe. Joe Pinto, he's been a great guy, easy to work with, very, very thorough. And I find that, I like associating with people who are this professional. So this is Bob Walsh, Experts Finance. Anything else that you would like to add before we go?
Just to say thank you for your business and your friendship, and happy to be
We'll
here.
go from there,
Thank you.
right? So I would like to say thank you everybody for listening. I hope you found it interesting. If you have any questions about Joe and his business, you obviously call him. If you want to talk to me about it beforehand, feel free to give us a ring. We can sit down, go over it, figure out where you are for your liability insurance, for your workers' comp, for insurance your buildings, for umbrella policies, whatever you actually think you need, or the big question is that you don't know you need, but you do actually need. Give us a call. We're happy to help. This is Bob Walsh of Experts Finance. Thank you very much for tuning in, and tune in for our other shows that are coming up.